What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Golf 360 podcast. I'm the host, Pete Popovich. So you may be asking yourself, what is Golf 360? And Golf 360 is a show that was designed to introduce you to people associated with the game of golf to help you improve not only at your game, but also your life. Almost all of our guests are from within the industry in some way, shape, or form, but some of the guests we have are from outside the industry, and it mainly revolves around the business world with a few others scattered in here and there. Now, all of the guests that we have a few things in common. One, they all were highly successful and accomplished in their field. Two, each has something to pass along that will help you in your game and your life. And three, they were all more than willing to give back by passing along the things that they use to help them in their career, and even some of the mistakes that they made so that others don't make them in their journey. So I hope you find listening to them as enjoyable as I did interviewing them, and that each and every one of you benefits from the information that they so willingly and graciously pass along. Hey everybody, I want to give a big shout out to a new sponsor of the Golf 360 podcast, and that's Affinity Wealth Management Group. We all work exceptionally hard for our money, and none of us can afford to let that fall into the dark abyss of the big box financial service firm and their jack of all trades and master of none mantra, which basically means you become a number within a cookie cutter model that's also often accompanied by massive fees. Your future deserves more than average returns and little attention. At Affinity Wealth Management, they ensure that your financial goals receive highly individualized, tailored attention from experts, not just advisors, who are in the industry to be great and not average. As a client of Affinity Wealth, you receive a customized solution to your customized life, keeping in mind your family's financial situation, values, and risk tolerance. Call Affinity Wealth today for a no-cost consultation with one of their experts at 724-754-8200. Again, that's 724-754-8200. Or you can also check them out on the web at www.affinitywealthmg.com. That's AFFINITYWEALTHMG.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Just Thrive Probiotic. You may be surprised to learn that your digestive system is the key to creating and maintaining the quality of your physical, mental, and emotional health, and it's one of the body's most essential systems. That's why the majority of nutritionists today highly recommend probiotics as an indispensable nutritional supplement. As a discriminating consumer, you've probably been searching for a probiotic that is proven, potent, and effective, and you found it. Just Thrive is your best choice for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Just Thrive Probiotic captures the power of hundreds of thousands of years of nature's design with a specialized bacillus strain formulation that guarantees survivability through the stomach and upper digestive system. Supports optimum gut health, digestive health, immune health, and delivers antioxidants. Great for adults, kids, and the whole family. Use promo code GOLF360 at www.thriveprobiotic.com for 10% off your order. All of us have dreams of one sort or another. Some of you might have the dreams of someday owning your own golf course and managing it the way that you want to. Others may have the dream of playing as a touring professional around the world and winning at the highest of levels. Could even be your dream to be mentored by one of the greatest icons to ever play the game. But let's say you're living your dream, you're playing the PGA Tour, you're about ready to live another dream, and that is of becoming a parent, and all of a sudden that dream turns into a nightmare because your doctor tells you that you now have cancer. Where do you go from there? What runs through your mind? What's going to happen to your family if things don't work out the way you want to? Well, today's guest lived these dreams, and he also lived through that nightmare, and he was kind enough to come on today's show and tell us all about it. His name is Todd Barranger, and he is a very dear friend of mine. I love this guy like a brother, and it was great catching up with him. And I think that for many of you, after listening to what he has to say and his story, that he is going to endear himself to as many of you who don't know him as he did to so many of us who do. So please, as always, give a big Golf 360 welcome to former PGA Tour pro, current golf course owner, and cancer survivor, Mr. Todd Barranger. All right, Mr. Barranger, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Thanks, Pete. It's great to be here and nice to hear your voice again.
So you've got your business now. You got a long, illustrious career playing golf. But before we get into that, I want to get into what you've been doing lately and what you've been building for a number of years. And that's Southwest Golf Management. That's the name you guys are under now?
We're under Spirit
Spirit.
Golf
Okay.
Management now. When I got out of golf for several years and got into the flooring business,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I got made the decision to get back into golf, we opened Southwest Golf, and we had several properties in the Phoenix area there, and then I split with my partner that I had with Southwest Golf, and we formed a company called Spirit Golf Management, and moved from Arizona area to southern New Mexico, West Texas area there, and we've now got three properties. We've got Picacho Hills Country Club, Sierra del Rio Golf Club, and Butterfield Trail Golf Club in El Paso, Texas. So we're growing at a nice rate, and really looking forward to the future with golf right now.
Are you getting courses that were just mismanaged or economy turn or something like that where you're picking them up or and then turning them around?
Most of them have been mismanaged. I think that from what we can see, there's a lot of course conditions were bad, merchandising was bad, green fees were set at the wrong pricing, food and beverage was wrong, just kind of a full package of things that people get set in their ways and don't realize that they're in the wrong path, and next thing they know they're $300,000-$400,000 losers every year, so we've been fortunate. The Picacho Hills is the one that we own. We've just purchased that, and Elephant Butte. Sierra del Rio. It's in a town called Elephant Butte, New Mexico. That one was kind of a unique story that a gentleman named Jack Witt built this development, and Mr. Witt had some serious health issues and passed away at a rapid pace. And he had gifted the property to the city of Elephant Butte, and the city was just not. They weren't in the golf business, and unfortunately, it was ranked one of the number one courses. When it was built, it was the number one course in New Mexico, and the course just deteriorated. They lost the bunkers, didn't know what they were doing agronomically, and it really just the course just kind of fell apart. So we were able to come in and make a huge change in the playability of the golf course and the restaurant, food and beverage side, and the course is doing very well now. So we're very proud of that turnaround. We've kind of saved the community. It's Elephant Butte is a community of about 800 people, and this was the main focus of the town, and it would have been devastating to the town to lose this property. And then Butterfield was really a financial scenario that it's owned by the El Paso International Airport, and they shut it down in March. Just every airport in the country got hurt financially, and they shut it down in March to conserve some money, and we were able to come in and pick up the Butterfield property, and this property, it's ranked usually in the top three municipal golf courses in the country. It's Tom Fazio Golf Course, just phenomenal to play. And it's really done well since we've reopened it. We've been averaging probably almost 200 players a day on the tee sheet, so it has really been a great addition to our company.
And how many courses do you have under your umbrella now?
We have three. That when we dissolved Southwest Golf, We got rid of all the properties in Arizona and started new and started fresh with just Picacho Hills in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and now since we've been here about 18 months, we've acquired two other properties, so three total.
What is your, or is there a criteria that you have when you either seek golf courses or somebody calls you and says, "Hey, Todd, I think this course might fit your portfolio really well." How do you go about vetting just getting overrun with too money and then diluting your product?
Well, I think obviously you go in first and do an on-site survey and really look at the property. Your second step is to go into the financials and look at all your financials, what the course has been doing, see if anything jumps out at you. If you see a mismanagement of funds or they were allocating the wrong amounts going in the wrong direction. And then the next thing you're looking at is your irrigation system. What's your water source? Is it do you have your own well, or are you buying water? And those are really your determining factors on whether you dive in more and move forward with a property. We've looked at probably 15 or 20 properties that we have felt that just were not they weren't feasible to bring in or to bring them back to life and try to get them healthy, that they were kind of past the point of return. So it's definitely a huge effort in the beginning to look at the properties and dissect which one is going to be part of the family and which one you're going to walk away from.
Yeah, I guess it's like a stock. It sounds like you want the one that has the greatest potential, given all the criteria that you use.
Absolutely. When you're looking at these in the beginning, it's all about potential, what it could be, and then really diversifying down of everybody has the grandiose thoughts that this can be we can do 200 rounds a day at $100 a day and life is all good. But the reality is you might get $50 around and do 100 players. So you've got to kind of figure out where the reality and potential meet.
How has COVID affected you guys? Because a lot of courses I talked to since the original, shock or announcement of COVID, when things started to reopen early summer, it's like they went from being way behind 2019 and now surpassing 2019. Are you seeing similar things?
Our rounds are up almost 60% at each one of the properties with it, and then it's kind of the double-edged sword, because your rounds go up, but our food and beverage has suffered tremendously. So we've been able to make adjustments in the food and beverage area to not absorb too much in the way of losses, because you still need to provide services for your golfers that are on your property. Mm-hmm. So revenues from the golf side have gone way up, but you've also lost your food and beverage revenue. So the numbers are panning out to be kind of similar, but they're a little bit the overall number, I think, for everybody is a little bit lower than what they would have if they were fully operational with food and beverage. And I know I can't speak for other parts of the country, but in New Mexico we had about 3.5 months that you couldn't serve alcohol, whether it be on a beverage cart or in your restaurant or out of the pro shop or anywhere else. So when you lose alcohol at a golf course, that's a crushing blow. Mm-hmm. In that regard. So it's really been it's kind of been just a constant juggle of how you're doing it and adjusting rates to keep your tee sheet full, and most of the time, a lot of people I've talked to, they've actually been adjusting rates upward just to they've had too many golfers trying to get on their golf course. So they've had to adjust rates to kind of get their tee sheet in perspective. at being 200, 225 people, golfers a day, instead of 300 trying to get out there and play golf, and making sure they don't ruin the customer experience while they're out there.
I had a friend that owned a men's clothing store, high-end clothing store in Old Ponte Vedra in Jacksonville years ago. And what took his sales to a whole nother level was he built a old school oak bar in the back of his store, and he had all top shelf liquor. And asked him one day, I said, well, how the hell did you get around the liquor license? He said, because I didn't charge. I just gave it away. These guys would come in after work. Instead of fighting traffic, they'd sit there, hang out for an hour. They'd start having a couple vodkas or bourbons, and they get a little loose. And next thing you know, they're buying a couple $1,500, $2,000 suits and $500 pants. And he says, what do I care if it's a $40 bottle of booze?
Right.
I just wonder if that
Absolutely.
could work in the golf business, but you might run dry pretty quick.
Yeah, I would say in the golf side, I think as many years as we've known each other, we've seen some people that can put it down pretty good. So that might be a crushing blow on in the business world to do that. But everything is coming back pretty strongly now. The retail sector is picking back up with merchandise in the golf shops. We're seeing a lot of club fitting, a lot of lessons. Starting to pick back up now. So I think the whole business is trending in the correct direction. And, we're really attributing it to, as again, I can't speak for the other parts of the country, but we're really attributing to the people that we're speaking to. They had cruises lined up, they had family vacations, and they're not doing those trips now. So they're trying to find things that they can do locally in their hometowns, and most of the people have played golf before or been around golf, and they just kind of put it on the back burner the last maybe 10, 15 years, and now golf is coming back into their life and their activities, because they're not doing all these other trips that they would previously do. So it's really benefiting. Golf is really, I think, benefiting hugely from COVID, reintroducing people back into golf, and people coming back and just playing. The avid golfers, excuse me, is spending more time at the golf course because they can work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's a lot of factors that are aiding golf right now. I've talked to many people out back in Scottsdale and Phoenix area that summer golf usually dies out very hard in the Phoenix Scottsdale area in the summertime, and their tee sheets are full 7 days a week. So that's great news for them, and they're all on the road to recovery from what they lost. You can never recover what you lost, but they're at least able to keep the doors open and keep employees employed and pay all the bills every month. So it's a positive thing for golf. I've seen too many businesses and know too many business people that have shut their doors because they just can't stay afloat anymore.
What are some of the bigger challenges that you're facing? I mean, outside of COVID, obviously, but is it getting good help? Is it regulation, finance? What do you find that just wakes you're thinking about it at 3 o'clock in the morning while you're laying in bed?
Water costs. That's that's what will keep you awake at nighttime, is water costs.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in this business and you're trying to find a bank or financial institution to borrow money from, golf courses are still about as far down the list as you can get. They truly, unless you have the money to pay for it, they really want nothing to do with you. So we've really been able to go after private fundraising and raise capital that way. Two of the properties that we have, we're in long-term 25-year management agreements. So those help in the beginning, because you don't have to go out and get financing. You're just having your upfront startup cost with the business.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the employees are always, if you've got 20 employees, you have 16 or 17 that are rock solid employees that you never hear a word from. They show up every day. They do their work, and then you've always got the 2, 3, 4 spots that are on a constant merry-go-round that you get people in, and they'll work a couple weeks, that's probably the hardest part. And then with all the unemployment and the unemployment monies that were given away during the COVID, it made it extremely hard. The work pool the workforce went way down. I think that was everybody I was talking to. That was their number one issue was finding people. They needed bodies, and they couldn't get them, and that was extremely hard. I was talking to a guy that owns a restaurant up in Casper, Wyoming, and they were offering $25 an hour for a hostess.
Jesus.
And they couldn't get anybody to apply because they were making enough money. They were making more than that with their unemployment and their $600 a week. So, we're kind of getting out of that phase right now, and we're starting. We've got some ads out there that we've posted in the last week, 10 days, and we're getting responses again. So that's a positive sign that people are looking to go back to work again.
So if most of your courses now they're up and running and they're fighting their way back and holding steady at least. What do you see as the next step to get those to grow? Or your company? Is it to acquire more courses? Is it to focus on the 3 that you have and make them destinations or improved or what have you?
We're looking. I'd like to bring one more property into our group and hold at 4. I think 4 is a very good number. Our properties are very diverse properties from each other. So I feel like we're trying to build a company that no matter where the economy is, that we've got protection. There's always going to be a property or 2 that are really successful, and if the economy's in a good or bad position, it's going to several of the other properties will always be strong with that. But we're really taking it to the next level is perfecting what we've got now and streamlining it, getting our customer service up to the levels that we want, the golf course conditions to the level that we want, and just making it. We're really experiencing a scenario now where golf courses, country clubs, they're not just golf anymore. They're really becoming part of the social atmosphere of people's lives. And at 2 of our locations, it's the social center of the towns. So, the restaurants, the bars have a lot of non-golfers. Probably 60-70% of our people in there are non-golfers. So there's some trends going on with that. People enjoy the views. They like being at the golf course, but they're just not golfers. And we've really worked hard to attract those people to be, I guess our slogan, you would say, would be to be part of the community and not just the golf course that people go to. We're holding a lot of social functions for the community. We've got plans if COVID opens up and we can do it. We're going to have hay rides for Halloween, and Santa coming out to the golf course for pictures and that type of stuff. So we're really trying to work to be part of the community and involved with the community. So it's not just people get that stigma off that it's just a golf course. You only go there if you're playing golf. We're really getting the community to be vested in our properties, and they're going for lunch somewhere. They're going for dinner somewhere. So why not come to the golf course and eat and drink there? And so far it's been a pretty successful campaign to get involved with the communities, and the response has been really tremendous. A lot of people are like, I never even thought about coming out here. It was a golf course. So why would I go to the golf course to have lunch? And now now they're saying, I can't believe I didn't come here the last 20 years to eat lunch.
Yeah, especially if you have good food, right? I mean, you in the Hilton Head area, and I don't get out of here enough, but you remember it well enough from the years you lived here. But the courses like Old South, where I'm at, they've had the same cooks for, I think, pushing 30 years. And the place is
Right.
jam packed every Saturday and Sunday morning. People come there for lunch. It's exactly how you just described. It's part of the community. The locals hang out there. And I'm assuming you guys have somewhat of an off season. And when that happens, you got your core group of people that live in that vicinity who make it part of their community that still support you.
Absolutely. And anytime that you have, if you're in a part of the country that has a down season, it's just a massive part of your business plan is how you fill that downtime that you have. And by being part of that, the cheers, if you want to say, um, destination that the locals are going to come, and it's their local watering hole, and it's the place they come and have happy hour and eat and drink 2-3 times a week, and that really helps from a business standpoint to minimize the losses that you experience in your downtime. And usually, the downtimes are when it's extremely hot out. So when it's your downtime in the golf business, it's also your most expensive time because you're employing more labor. The grass is growing at full tilt, and you're needing more chemicals, more water. So it's kind of a catch-22 when golf courses are in their slow season. It's the most expensive part of the year for a golf course to stay open.
Do you, to get people out there? I've always had the assumption and the theory that if you get the kids to come, then mom and or dad have to come, and then grandma and grandpa might come, sister and brother might come. So promoting to have a junior presence there turns 1 or 2 kids into 4 to 6 customers because they're going to have to drink something. They're usually going to have to eat something. Is that part of something that you guys do, or is it? Does it fit into that culture your place is at all?
No, it absolutely does, and we're really working hard. One of the properties, Butterfield Trail Golf Club in El Paso, we just took over August 28th. So we're establishing and putting together the plans for the junior program at that facility. The other programs, junior programs, they're essential to have at any club. For one, we all know from being around golf schools and that type of stuff, if the kids get involved, mom or dad are going to get involved, and whether it's green fees or whether it's a membership at the private club, people are they're going to support their kids and do things to further their potential. So junior programs are a big part of our business plan, and not just the business side. It's fun. It's the side of the business that's probably the most rewarding, is to watch that young boy or girl make solid contact for the first time and see the ball fly away, and you can see it in their eyes as soon as they hit that first shot. That they're hooked on the game, and that's what all of our jobs are in this industry, is to get that next generation of golfers coming to the golf course and getting involved and making it part of their lives. And I think with what's going on in all the other sports right now, with football, with all the concussion protocols, and I think parents are taking a second look at other sports and saying, you know what, golf's not so bad. My kid's, he's not going to get a concussion. He's not going to, he might sprain an ankle. That's about as bad as we're going to get. A few blisters on the hand and a sprained ankle, that's about as severe as we're going to be. But no, the junior golf is essential, I think, at every level, whether it's at your local municipal or whether it's at the high end private club. It's just essential that every property should have a strong junior program in their wheelhouse.
The other thing I found that worked really well, the ladies, the women.
Hmm.
I mean, I had at one time I ran, I think we ran it continuously for 3 or 4 years. Was a ladies mimosa clinic on Saturday mornings that used to sell out every week, and it was mostly
Right.
beginners, and they would come in and they either their friends played or their husband played, and they wanted to learn how to play with them, and they would come and then they would go in the pro shop and buy all these outfits. After a couple weeks, they're showing up with new shoes, new clubs, new clothes, and the whole deal. And I'd ask them to start each week. I'd say, okay, someone give me a good story that you worked on what we talked about last week, and you went out and you did it when you played. And no one raised their hand. They look at each other and I say, none of you played, did you? So it turned out that they were there for the social aspect, but they
Right.
were also the ones spending the money.
Right.
In the
Absolutely.
club and the pro shop, because they'd all go get breakfast, they'd all go get lunch, and then of course they'd have their drink during the school. But
And
I
right,
think I
and they're
think it's
buying the clothes
right.
for their husband and for their kids and everything else. So yeah, we have we're very fortunate. I've got a wonderful, incredible LPGA pro that she rotates between all three properties, and her job is solely to run the ladies programs at all three properties. And she has done absolutely an incredible job with growing the programs. She's got they call it the sandpipers at our clubs, and that's the 9-hole group that they tee off at the crack of dawn and play 9 holes, come in for breakfast and that type of stuff. And she's got she introduces them with free clinics and a lesson in wine type
Mm-hmm.
scenario, all sorts of. She's got some really incredible, great programs that she's got out there that she plays with the ladies. She does rule seminars with them. She teaches them. She does fittings with them. She runs all the tournaments. So we manage our ladies' days at the three properties so that none of them fall on the same day. And then she rotates from property to property, and she's there to greet them in the morning and check them in and make sure that everybody's happy, and then gets them on the course. And she'll go out and play a hole with all the groups through the morning, and then comes in and does their scoreboards, does the awards, has lunch with them, and sits around with the ladies in the afternoon and has a few cocktails with them. And our ladies groups were very notorious for playing, and then they would just leave. We would never get them in for lunch or for cocktails or anything along that line. And now they're one of our top spenders. They come in and they'll sit around for 2 or 3 hours and have wine or beers or whatever, the lunch and wine, and sit around and socialize. So it's Lisa has done an incredible job with our ladies programs, and that we've learned the hard way that if we keep the ladies of our clubs happy, we have a happy club.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has made a huge difference in our financial impact because we now understand fully that if mom says that we're going to play golf, everybody's going to play golf.
And if mom says, I'm not cooking, we're eating at the club, we're eating at the club.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's been a big campaign for us, and knock on wood, we've had great success. But I think that's one of the decisions that I made last year was to bring an LPGA pro on and have her solely focus on the ladies side, and she's their point of contact, and the other pros and myself step in, and we're very involved with it, but she has taken it to a new level for us, where we have a very happy ladies group, and which makes everybody's life incredibly happier.
What's interesting is when somebody's who's in charge of something, whether you're running it, you're the managing partner like you are, or you're an owner, if the ego is not so big that you will put somebody who knows more about you in that particular part of the business in charge of it, it's amazing how well it can flourish. And you see
Absolutely.
repetitively, people just, they either put somebody in position and they're over their shoulder all the time, or they don't let them do what they hired them to do. It's like a lack of trust. And it's like, well, then they wonder why their business doesn't flourish. Like you're the clog in the dam.
Right.
And
Yep.
it's
You're your
great to
own worst
hear you.
enemy.
Yeah, great to hear that you're doing that. I'm sure it's going to
Yeah.
continue to flourish.
That's, with my playing background and stuff, I get requests constantly. Come and teach me. Come and teach me. I want lessons from you. I want lessons from you. And rarely do I do them. I go out and get involved in the clinics. But I've got a great group of golf professionals in our organization, and so I push the people over to our golf pros for lessons, and it's worked very well. And then my job is to be the supporting factor, and go out and check in with them, and hey, how's your lesson? Hey, that was a great shot, and whatever the scenario is. But I try to stay in the background and let our staff do what they know how to do, and it's also part of my job is to grow them, and I tell all my staff, except for my food and beverage manager and a couple other pertinent managers that I want with me for many, many years. But, I tell my assistants, our job is for you not to be here for the next 10 years. Our job is to train you and grow you in the business enough that in 3 years that you can go off and you can run your own property and you grow and you prosper. And to me, that's really when my business is successful, is when we grow somebody and they're able to go on and get their own property and grow their life. And it's pretty exciting to watch when somebody comes in that started on the bag drop or whatever scenario they were doing, and 3-4 years later that they're a Class A pro and they're going off to get their own property.
You had mentioned growing in going from being a world-class touring professional into the business you're in now and everything in between. Do you, looking back, do you find out that it's the growth that you had is that the core common denominator is you had a strong desire to achieve something or to build something, and then you took it from a professional sports playing athletic career into the business world as soon as you figured out where you wanted to put that focus?
Yeah, I think from playing on tour, there's no off switch. You might take a week off, but you're still thinking about it. You're still you played for years, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. There, you're always grinding on how to save that one shot around and how not to hit that one poor drive, and I think that translates over into the business world. Excuse me, where you're grinding it out every day. How can we improve customer service? How can we improve our expenses? How can we make our customer experience better? How do we just improve all the way around? But I think that it really stems from all the years on tour, and we've all been in the golf business, and from the tour level to mini tour level, playing pro-ams and all that. I think there's a lot of things that you learn out there on the road that you don't realize that you've learned until you're out of the playing sector and you get into to the customer service arena, and you discover that, I can deal with any personality that's out there. I've dealt with all of them on the golf course, and so it's definitely has had a huge benefit and help in my business, being able to communicate and in a professional manner to any and all personalities, to take a customer that's not happy with the situation and convert it into a positive where everybody's leaving the situation shaking hands and we'll see you next week.
you and I and so many others we developed that it's you have a deep passion for what you were doing at the time, and for us it was playing golf at the highest level. For somebody else it might be becoming a musician or a CEO of a company or whatever it is. If you have a deep passion for that, you're driven every day and you're adding. You might not feel like you're getting far, but you're adding each day. As you said, how do you at the tour level? How do you save one stroke or save that one? Or rid yourself of that one bad shot at the worst possible time. I mean, you're talking about fractions of
Right, right.
millimeters of measurement. Where and you understand that you've gone through it, and now you're trying to teach it to your staff. So, and it's never easy, but you obviously have some staff who are their dream is to manage their own golf course. But how do you get that through to keep developing themselves as a person for the staff who is maybe doing it because it's their job? How do you motivate them, or how do you get them to see the things that you experience because you experience them over a long period of time? How do you teach them
Well,
that?
I think you lead by example, and that's what I really try to do every day, and to teach the staff that you know, you learn something new every day. Every day that you turn the key in the lock of your front door, there's a new experience that you've never experienced before. And the personal growth to be the best, not just to be another golf pro, not just to be another person that has a staff bag, to, you know, how to separate yourself. And you again, it goes back, I think, to leading by example. That you know, I go out and get on the mowers and mow greens with the maintenance crew. I get in the bunkers and rake bunkers in the mornings with them. I go up and start people off first tee, and I clean bathrooms if I need to clean bathrooms. But you know, I really try to groom my staff that you know, when you're in this business, you don't have a job description. Your job description is whatever needs to be done. And people learn that, you know, it's exciting every day because they know, you know, they might be learning how to put a electrical outlet in the wall for the first time, you know, changing a light bulb in a 15-foot ceiling. You know, there's just all sorts of things that happen every day that you've never experienced the day before. So I really try to lead by example and let people know that, yeah, I am the owner of the business, but there's nothing beneath me that needs to be done. If I need to go out on the bag drop and scrub clubs and clean carts, we go out there and do that. You know, don't. I think we've all come from that background where, you know, we've seen the golf pros that they get the title and they're a director of golf or head pro, and they become too good to be out there with their outside service staff, or they're too good for the maintenance crew. And I think that's a wrong attitude in the business. I think that's how you earn the respect of all of your people, from the maintenance crew, which is probably one of your most important aspects of your business. If they've got pride in the golf course, you know, they make sure that the fine details are done, that weed is picked up in the crack of the cart path, and that bag of chips that's blowing across the golf course is picked up. And you know, you try to create a culture that they're proud of what they're doing, and that you're proud of them, and reassuring them of you know, what a great job they're doing. And if there's mistakes being made, that you approach it in the correct manner with the people and with the employees, and make sure that they're not taking what you're telling them as a negative, that it's constructive criticism, and you go out and do it with them. And it just makes all the difference in the world when your staff has got pride, you know, then your properties have pride.
You know, that's something for the last year or two I've been working myself to improve on is some of the kids I coach, or the people I coach who are trying to play at the next level, college, Division I to professional, mini tour to bigger tour. And for a long time, I because I've had some of these people for a number of years, and you tell them to do something and they fight you, but then they do it and it works, and you're like, look, I'm not telling you to hear myself talk. I'm telling you because this is going to help you. I've been where
Right.
you are. There's a reason
Right.
that you can't beat me, and you're playing every day, and I'm playing once a month. Right? I know when to
Right.
turn it on, you don't. And I'm trying to show you. But the thing that I struggle with is even after a number of years of doing that, and you tell them to do something and they still fight you, and you tell them, well, you do it because I told you to do it, doesn't really work to somebody who's in that daily grind of trying to figure it out, whether they're playing from uh, Division One to Corn Ferry or developmental tour to big tour, whatever it is, and it's that
Right.
communication like you just described, and it's a lot has to do, I think, with that trust, to where if you're getting into the trenches with them and they're like, holy shit, Todd's the boss and he's right here next to me. Wow, that means a lot.
And don't get me wrong, there's definitely times that the conversation goes the other way where they're not willing to do what you're asking, and you have to be the boss. That you've got to just look at them and say, okay, it's not open for discussion anymore. This is how it's going to be done, and that's just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rare that happens, but there are times that there's just points and times that you have to just say, okay, it's not open for discussion anymore. This is how it's going to be done, and that's the end of the conversation. So let's get it done.
But I've known you
And
long enough. I would have to guess that after that situation is passed and things have calmed down some, that you pull them aside and say, look, I know we didn't agree, but this is the reason we did it, and can you now see what I was trying to get through to you?
absolutely, absolutely, that's part of it's part of the healing process and part of the growing process. And I think if you don't have that attitude, that you go back and circle back with them and and reiterate why it was done, and I can tell you just about 100% of the time after it gets to that point and they do it the way you want it, they come back and say, I got it now. I don't know why it wasn't making sense to me, but I've got it now. Now I understand why you want it done that way. And
Mm-hmm.
very rarely does it go the other direction. That's I don't there's 100 excuse me, there's 100 different avenues that you can go, and standing and screaming at employees just not it doesn't work in today's world, first of all. But I've never done that. But it's with today's workers, it just doesn't do you any good, and it doesn't do the employee any good. So it's a waste of time to get into that mind frame where you're it becomes a shouting match to get something accomplished. It's just a waste of time all the way around.
Right. We're almost actually going backwards in your career. So you got the business career now, but as you mentioned, you had played at the highest of levels. You played in the PGA Tour. You played all over the world. You've won multiple times on big tours. It's, not just small stuff. Let's get into that a little bit, because everybody always wants to get a glimpse behind the curtain of what it's like to be a professional touring pro, and you were there. You were there for a number of years. Just kind of briefly talk about your career, how it. I mean, because you didn't come out of a big college. You came out of a
No,
junior college
right.
and achieved some pretty good success.
Well, I think it went back I knew what I wanted to do. I came. My family was not wealthy by any means, and so I didn't have the opportunities in junior golf to go play the big national events and do all that stuff to really get known. I was very fortunate growing up in Phoenix. We had an incredible junior golf program there. I think the who's who of, they're the has-beens of tour now because of my age, but at one time I think we had there was probably 7 or 8 kids that were on tour that came out of our junior program, from Billy Mayfair and many others that got out there. And I think that we all pushed each other as junior golfers, and some people were able to go do the national stuff, and unfortunately I was not able to do that, so I had to kind of take the other path and earn my way on my own merits with things. So the beginning years were lean and tough, and coming through. I always played well enough in high school and the junior tournaments that I played in. I was always competitive or was winning events, and I always knew deep down in that I had the ability. It was being able to financially get there. And then fortunately in Arizona they had some mini tour events back then, and I got to play with Mark Calcavecchia and Paul Azinger and some of those guys before they ever made it, before anybody knew who they were. And so I got to see what it was like playing with a person at that level at a young age, and I knew where I had to get myself. And then with coming out of junior golf, going into high school, my father had some very serious health issues my senior year of high school, and so I was only able to go to a junior college and went to Scottsdale Community College, and we had a very successful team there, and went on, and I ended up just deciding that I think I knew in junior college that I was good enough to make it. I was playing with enough guys that were playing on tour, Jim Nelford and guys along that lived in Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and I was able to play with them on a regular basis, and I knew that I was competitive with them when I was playing with them, and so then we went on to the mini tours, and back then all the mini tours were in Florida.
But let me back up just a second. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you I want to make sure everyone knows that. I mean, you having success at the college level. You won the national championship, didn't you?
Yes,
the individual.
I won the individual, and team won the team won nationals, and I won individuals.
And that was that your junior year?
That was in '87.
Because BK, Brian Contact, for those of you who might not know, he won. Was it the next year? Didn't you guys come in first and second or something like flipped years?
Yeah, we won, and then his team. I was off the team, and then they won. When Brian was on the team, they won back-to-back years. They had a much stronger. We had an incredibly strong top four guys when I was playing. We didn't have a fifth guy. He was a good player, but that's where we'd usually get beat in the events was the final stretch. But the Brian Contact and Jim Lemon and a couple of those guys, they came in right after I left, and they won back-to-back national championships.
Strong program. Coach must have known what the hell he was doing, recruiting.
It was the farm league for ASU. That's what it was. That most of those guys went on to play at ASU. They came out of Scottsdale. Steve Loy was the coach at ASU, and at the time, he had Mickelson and Mayfair and Jimmy Carter. Tom Stankowski, and I'm blank on the other names, but they were the powerhouse in collegiate golf. They dominated everybody, and so there was even if you were good enough to get on the team, you weren't going to be playing on the team. They had their starting five, and so Scottsdale became if you wanted to go to ASU, and eventually you went through the Scottsdale program and then transferred in from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate to be in that chain. It really, a lot of that developed after I left Scottsdale. The connection got much closer years after, probably 2 years after I left. It really became the farm ground for ASU golf. And at that time in the years, ASU was dominant in golf for many years.
Yeah, all of Arizona. I mean, even University had Manny Zerman and Robert Gomez.
Yep, David Bergano, Jim Furyk. But the Arizona and whole was strong. It was probably the best tournament of the year is when all the colleges in Arizona got together and played. U of A, ASU, Northern Arizona, Grand Canyon, all the junior colleges, and that was probably one of the strongest collegiate events of the year. Was when it was just Arizona golf.
Yeah, you come out of that. I mean, you could top 3 in that, and you could probably have a good chance at winning the national title.
Right. Yep. It was a pretty good time, and it if you thought you were good, there was always somebody in the field that was better than you. So there was always room to improve.
Well, that's one of the things that I learned really quick was at the touring level, the Monday qualifiers, whether it's a mini tour, now Corn Ferry, I think it's called, is no matter how many under par you are, you continue to go under par. When you first get there, you might be, you're 5 under with 3 holes to go, and you think you could coast it in, and you get in, and there's already 4 guys ahead of you. It's like, it's never enough.
Right.
And that's a very harsh lesson to learn. But I would have to imagine, like you just said, with all those great players, that had to be instilled pretty quickly.
It was, I'm going back 30, 35 years now in my life, but I remember playing in events and thinking that I easily had them won, and get in and kind of doing exactly what you were talking about. You'd shoot 69 or something on the last day, but I had it on autopilot the last 9 holes or the last 4 or 5 holes coming in, and you get in, post your score to find out that you lost by 1 or lost by 2, and because somebody shot 63 that day and flew past you. But it definitely taught me the trait of not taking the foot off the throttle until you're done, because every birdie counts, and you witnessed it with me in, was it 2000 when I got I finished 16th on the Buy.com tour, and I think we had a few cocktails and discussed where I could have saved one more shot here and one more shot there, and to work all season and miss. I
think was it $1,100 or something like that.
It was $1,100 difference, if I remember correctly, and that was just one swing somewhere through the course of a 10-month season that could have made the difference, but. That was, I think, one of the things that I was most proud of was missing that and going through the hardship. You went through it with me, do that, and then turn right around the next year and come back and finish top 15 the next year.
Yeah, and talk about that, because you did miss it by such a small margin that in 2000, and you were the bubble guy going into the Tour Championship.
I was. Yep.
And then the next year you're in the same position, and
right.
you have I think you shot like 79 or something in the first round of the Tour Championship in 2000, and
right.
I mean you were spent. I can remember that. But then in 2001 you're in the same position and you shoot 65.
Right. I was. You know what? It was one of those internal. The many internal battles that you face. It was one of those that was probably the biggest battle internally I had ever faced, and that was really kind of the point that I knew after that first round, coming back the second year and shooting 65, that I think the light for the first time in my professional career went off, that I had it mentally for the first time instead of just physically.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big turning point in my internal belief in myself. I know there's a lot of guys out there that say I've always known, I've always believed, but I talked to them off the record, and that little leprechaun that sits on your shoulders, on everybody's shoulder.
Right.
It's just learning how to fight them off. But but that was one of the things that I was probably most proud of, was coming back and turning the tide the next year, and overcoming that hurdle, because I really was upset at myself for a long time, and it also set up the following year. I think in 2000 I won the Dayton Open in 2000, I believe it was, or 2001. And then the following year I did not win, but I think I had 12 or 13 top 10 finishes,
weren't you like number one all around on the tour that year?
I was number one all around, but it really taught me to grind. And it was a conscious effort every week out there to, if I was at even par, and where maybe the year before I kind of just got into the house, the next year, and I pushed all the way through until we were 18. And I can't tell you, how many times I made birdie on 18 and picked up another $1,100 because I made a birdie. So it was a completely different mindset the following year when I went into that I think I had something to prove to myself internally, and it was also nice to prove it to the golf world that I wasn't a mental midget out there.
Yeah, and for anyone that wants to look, I mean, that's the year it was a great story. Golf Week had picked it up and even had put you on the cover that week. I think I still might have that where you signed it.
Everything was there for me to fall right on my face and have a complete collapse. I had the national media on me. Had television crews on me, and the guy that was number one on the money, I think, who was it, Chad Campbell, I think, won the money list that year, and he's out playing in the final round or the first round of the Tour Championship, and nobody's following him, and I've got 5 camera crews and everybody else following me. So the scenario was definitely there for me to fall right on my face and have a big collapse. But fortunately, knock on wood, I was able to keep my head in place and go on down the road and be successful with that day and that tournament that week. I think I finished in the top 3 or top 5 that week. So the year before, that golf course ate my lunch.
So let me ask you this, because you have, and I know you well enough to know a lot of the challenges or difficulties that you've overcome, and you do it consistently. It was the year before or 2 years before where you had Mondayed into enough where you earned your membership, but I remember at Q School you were leading, and then it was like all of a sudden disappeared, and nobody knew why, but you had some equipment issues that really cost you.
Yeah, I had. At the time I was playing a driver that had a very thin face on it, and I was, I guess, fortunate in my golf that I hit the ball pretty hard, and I kept busting the faces on the driver. And so I went through and I think I was traveling with 6 or 7 different drivers, and that particular week I went through and every driver in my stash I broke the face on that week, so it was kind of a major issue, and so I ended up finally switching equipment companies, and found one that I couldn't break the face on.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. How do you think that going through that adversity that year, and then built up to you getting to the 15th on the money list, and then the adversity you faced there obviously helped you the next year, and that you completely turned that around? Do you think it was that you can look back now? Does it look like it's a learning progression?
Oh, it's absolutely was a learning phase, a learning stage, in every aspect, from physically to mentally to learning how to deal with the press, with public acknowledgement, and all the way around. I think it was a huge learning and growing phase for me at that time. Understanding that it's still just golf, and I think all of us, when you first get a little bit of national media attention, and you get on the cover of some magazines and stuff, I think you get a little. It's very easy to get a little arrogant and a little cocky, and that definitely happened with me. I became somebody, but I wasn't there as much as the newsprint and everything was leading up to. So the following year, it was very bittersweet in the sense that I climbed probably the biggest hill in my playing career that year, because it would have been pretty easy after 2001 and losing that spot the way that I did, to just kind of pack it in and never be heard from again.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like you didn't have success prior to that, because you won. What year was it? You won the Thailand Open, which turned into the Johnny
96,
Walker. Right.
96.
So, in looking back, was that just that you were younger and not took it for granted, but expected to play well and didn't know how to deal with adversity?
Well, I was in Thailand, and there was really no, nobody back here, or the world media had no idea who won the Thailand Open.
Not like when Tiger won it, a year or two later?
No, it wasn't like when Tiger won it. So, it was the Asian Tour back then, and it was completely different experience. And but going back to the Asian Tour, I think that the Asian Tour had a huge factor in that, because that was, you can talk to anybody that played over there for more than a season, that was really a grind. You were there because you wanted to play golf. And there was, you couldn't, half the countries you couldn't communicate in, and it kind of taught you how to, if you want to say, be a loner, and find out who you were as an individual, because there just wasn't much socializing, and it was tough over there, but it was a great experience, and I think I learned a lot about. That was kind of the start of learning that golf's just not about the physical side. There's a whole mental aspect that takes place with this thing.
Right. And I mean, what was the draw to Asia? Because it's hard enough to go, even a player like yourself who had won a national championship even as an individual. You obviously have the game. And I always tell people the difference is you're dealing with variables. And every level you go up, you've got more variables that are trying to distract you. So, but
I think for me, I think my deciding factor back at that time, I'm trying to remember. I think it was I can't remember all the phases of the Ben Hogan Tour and the Nike Tour and the Buy.com Tour. I think it was the Nike Tour at the time. I think that their purses were maybe $150,000, $200,000, and in Asia, they were playing for $400,000, $500,000 purses.
Mm-hmm.
and it was a short season. It was 15 weeks. You went over in January, and you were back by the end of April. So to me, it was, I looked at it as there was and the other mini tours at that time, they were very expensive to play. And there really wasn't much money in the Florida mini tours by that time. It would cost you $1,000 to go win $1,500. And so looking at it, I just felt like it was I could go over to Asia, and if I could play well over there, that I could come back here and fund the rest of the season from playing over there for 15 weeks. And luckily, knock on wood, I went over there and won, and had a couple, I think, top 5 finishes, and did very well, and was able to come back over here and support myself for a couple of years, because it was the next year that I ended up getting. I believe I think Buy.com came in the next year to the tour and put a bunch of money in. And the purses on the Buy.com, might have been the Nationwide tour. I can't remember
It's changed names so many
which
times.
sponsor
To keep track.
But a new sponsor had come in and put a bunch of money into the tour, and the purses had went way up. So it was that next year that I ended up staying. I think I went over and defended my title. I think I went over and played 2 or 3 events in Asia the next year, and then focused here more in the U.S. After that, and that was it for my tour years over there.
And it wasn't like you were just beating local players over there. I mean, there were some pretty heavy names.
It was a good tour. I mean, the competition over there was very strong. You had all the Australian players, a lot of the European players that were playing over there. It was right at the end of the Australian tour season.
Mm-hmm.
So, they were coming for us as Americans going over there. We were just ramping up our season. Where the Australians were coming, they were at the end of their tour year, so they'd been playing for months and months and months before they got up there. So they were tournament ready. Where the Americans coming over there, it would take a week or 2 or 3 to kind of get your bearings. First of all, because you're halfway across the country, and second, you hadn't eaten any food for a week or 2. But it took a couple of weeks to get your tournament face on. And then, at that point in time, the tour became pretty heavy. There was a lot of Japanese players that came down, a lot of Australians that came over, Europeans, and if I remember correctly, it was limited to 35 Americans could play on that tour.
And was that by merit? I mean, if that you played prior and had done well, that you were given a higher ranking that you could come back the next year?
Yeah, that's you could go back and play if you had finished in the top. I think it was the top 3 on the order of merit that you were granted the exemption for the following year. And that also got you into a few of the events up in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So those were always fun events to go up to, because at the time the Japanese tour was playing for a tremendous amount of money, and so it was like playing it was like getting into the Masters when you got to go up to Japan and play for $3 or $4 million a week.
If I remember, you winning that Thailand Open got you into the what was it, the World Championship or World Open at Chateau
Gene
Elan?
Sarazen World Open.
Yes.
Yep.
And you almost won that too, didn't you?
Yeah, I finished. I believe I finished 3rd in that, if I remember correctly.
Is that the year Nobilo won?
Yep.
Yeah, I always thought that was a cool tournament. The winners from all around the world.
It's a shame that tournament didn't get a hold of and stay on the tour circuit, because it was a great venue. You had to win a national open to get into it, and so you had a lot of great players there. It was fun. I think I was paired with Payne Stewart 3 of the 4 days when we were playing it. So Payne and I, as you know, we're good friends, and so it was a fun week at Chateau Alon.
What there was there was one story a mutual friend of ours wanted me to ask you, that something I remember it vaguely. There was a locker room incident where you locked the door, and there was some rice paper frontages to the lockers that when you left they weren't in the same order that when you went in.
Yeah, that was at the Kanto Open on the Japanese circuit. That was not one of my prouder moments of my career, but I had finished Sunday's round, and I think I had shot 64 or 63 or something, and had moved into possibly in contention. The leaders were still had 4 or 5 holes, but at the time I was leading the tournament, and so I went in and signed my scorecard and put it in the box and did everything as I had done.
That's right. I remember, yeah.
For the previous 100 tournaments that I'd played in, and I went into the locker room and was sitting down eating some lunch, and the officials came in and grabbed me, and they had said, you need to come out to the scoring tent. And I went out there, and you could plainly see on the scorecard where I'd signed my name, but somebody had erased my name off of my scorecard, and they said that I turned in my scorecard without signing it, and I appealed and did everything else, and they basically told me, so sorry, Charlie. No, you're disqualified.
So you did a little remodeling for them?
I remodeled the locker room on my way out, and was eventually escorted by the police to my hotel room to collect my belongings, and then escorted directly to the airport to be flown out of the country.
Yeah, that was one of the good stories. That was a fun one. I think we were probably 6-7 beers in when one time you told me that story. Well, I had that because it was so funny at the time. I had to get that in. You had even success. Let's back up again before that at the PJ qualifying school, your first year, I believe. First or second year? Right around in there? First time you went?
My first time I went was 93.
Okay, so then it was your second year that you got
second
through.
Year, right.
Tell everybody kind of that life as a rookie at the biggest of stages. Give a glimpse into that.
You know, I was incredibly blessed after I got my card. At the time when I got it, I was living in Orlando. I had played well enough on the mini tours down there to be able to afford a junior membership at Bay Hill, and was able to become friends with Arnold Palmer, and so when I went off and got my card, that I had come back, and Mr. Palmer had offered me a very handsome contract with Palmer Golf at the time, and he actually picked Steve Stricker and myself up out of the qualifying school, and but I was very fortunate that we were able to I was able to travel for a majority of the year in '94 and go through the excuse me, that was his farewell tour.
Yeah, the Oakmont that year.
That was the year that he played his last U.S. Open, and it was I got to play a practice round with him 2 days at Oakmont, and but traveled all the West Coast events that he played. We played at Pebble Beach, we played at Bob Hope, and what was the other one? Torrey Pines, I believe he played. So I was able to fly with him on his plane and travel with him and introduced to people that I would otherwise have never have met through everything. So it was my rookie year was an incredible year with being able to be around Mr. Palmer and it was very funny. I learned a tremendous amount from him. I'll tell you one good story of it. We were playing Pebble Beach in the practice round on Wednesday before the tournament started, and we were playing. Let me see, it was the 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, the par five.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd hit. We were gambling within our group, and I'd hit a huge drive down there, but I still had 290 or so to get to the green, and so I decided he was 30 yards behind me and took his driver off the deck and knocked it up there, 50 yards in front of the green. And so I was already up at my ball and he was walking up behind me as I was standing up there. And I think I took out 4-iron just to lay up down there and to wedge it into the green. I hit my 4-iron down there, and as he's walking past me, he said, "Don't you ever lay up again. You take that driver off the deck and you hit that driver." And he threw a ball down on the ground, and he said, "Hit driver off the deck right now." And so I take that ball and I rip a driver off the deck and hit it up there about 5 feet from the hole. And he's like, "Don't you ever lay up again. Never, ever. I'll never play another round of golf with you if you lay up again." and so that was my lesson of the year. And then so I kept that attitude through the 94 season, and it didn't work out so well. I hit a lot of drivers off the deck out of bounds and in the water and all sorts of stuff. But I held true to my word to him. I told him I'd go after every par five if I had driver or less into it, and I think my scoring average on par fives would have been about 3 shots lower if I would have laid up on a few of those.
So it was enough to lose your card, but you got one of your biggest life challenges not long after that season, didn't you?
Yeah, 95. 95. We were playing in Chicago. I was playing the Wednesday Pro-Am, and I had just started. I think you and I had both kind of gotten into the workout mode at that time, and so I was working out hard, and I had just switched trainers at the time, and so I thought that it was just a new training schedule, and we were really working hard on the core and lower back strengthening and all that type of stuff. And I was having some pretty severe pain across my lower back, and so I played the Pro-Am and was kind of hunched over and couldn't really stand up, and thought I had really, at the time, had pulled a back muscle or something along that line. Wasn't sure what I'd done, but knew something was not correct. And so throughout the course of the round, my left testicle had grown into about the size of a grapefruit. And so I was literally knelt down to read the putt, and that was the last thing I remember for a while. And at the time we were living in Knoxville, and flew home to Knoxville, and my ex-wife had arranged for me to get into a urologist right away, and was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And so that was the beginning of kind of going through a little change of life there for a little bit. And but I was able to get back through that. Obviously, when I came back and won in '96, but that was kind of a start of a health issue that I'd wish I didn't have to deal with. So
When you're sitting, I mean, as an athlete, you always think you're indestructible. I mean, you're usually training as you were, and you're at the highest level of your field in the world. And what kind of runs through your mind when you sit in front of a doctor and he drops that bomb in your lap?
There's a terminology of something going up into your throat, and that's kind of that's kind of what it was like. You're kind of, I would say more than anything, it was just disbelief. I think I was 25 at the time. I had really kind of felt like I was just getting my stride in golf, and was really kind of starting to feel like I belonged out there, and was playing well, and that type of stuff. So it was a real shock to the system, and every thought that you could possibly have goes through your head. Will I ever play again? What's the deal? Where's life going to take us? And during that conversation, I had ruptured my the tumor that was connected to my left testicle. So the original prognosis is they wanted to do basically like a lymphomic surgery and go cut me from throat to toe and remove every lymph node that you have out of your body. And so we did some research and looked at all that type stuff, and it's basically that you were going to live in a bubble for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't shake hands. If somebody sneezed, you were going to get some type of a flu, and that my son was just born, so I had an infant child at the time, and actually he wasn't born yet. He was in her belly. So that was midsummer, and he was born in November of '95, so he wasn't out yet. So I had a new one coming, and was basically being told that my golf career was over, and
You might not be around to see
I'd
him.
be around to see your son, and so pretty much every emotion that you could go through, I went through. So I had started researching and doing everything I could do to find out more about the surgery, and basically I made the decision after doing all the research that I was not a candidate to live in a bubble, and not a candidate to not be social and everything else. So I opted to do have the surgery and remove my left testicle, and then do the nuclear medicine treatment. There's another phrase for it. That's a big, long technical term, but I've forgotten what it is. So I opted to do that, and knock on wood, it was the right decision, because I think that I would have probably not have made it in life, whether it was through cancer or through self-affliction, living in a bubble.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you living in a bubble. Um, was that was around the same time Armstrong was going through his, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
did you, as athlete, did you
Lance.
guys ever come across one another?
Yeah, we did. We did several testicular cancer awareness fundraisers and functions, and I want to say we did about 3 or 4 of those. So I got to know him as we were going through that, and that was kind of part of the healing process, because we were both going through it, and obviously he was a much larger athlete than I was. He was a household name, and nobody knew my name. But it was part of, I think we both played a little bit of healing with each other, because we were exposed when you're going through cancer and that type of stuff. There's no morals anymore. You're getting poked and prodded, and you're completely vulnerable and exposed to everything. So I think our souls were open, and we had several hours of some pretty deep conversation about life and where you move on and how you move on, and I think that was kind of start of the healing process. And then I'd really say the second part of it for me was when my son was born, and that changed that changed my attitude a lot. Now I had it wasn't just me anymore. It was I had a young child that needed me and depended on me. So it was a very trying time, but he gave me a lot of strength to go on, and how close we are with things. So it was things kind of fell into that, and that also gave me the strength to go out and start practicing and start going through things. And one of the not getting religious by any means, but God puts people in your life at particular times, and I also at that time we had moved to Hilton Head after that, and then an old goat touring pro named Ron Cerruto showed up in my life, and listening to his story, winning everything that you could win as an amateur golfer and having a successful professional career, and then being in a car accident and breaking your back and never playing a tour event again. So people come into your life, and Ron was very instrumental in strengthening my mind and my physical ability and getting me back on track. So there was a lot of things, kind of situations happened over the next few years. You and your brother coming into my life and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of really cool things that continued to make me stronger and a better person. And as you know, I've kind of always carried that motto. I work hard and I learned to play hard as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and hopefully those listening, as you, whether your business life, when you started that, or your playing career and playing all over the world and dealing with issues, and then obviously overcoming one of the biggest things somebody can ever overcome in their life, and is that fighting for your life with something as difficult as cancer. And that's one that, outside of you being like a brother, I mean, if having you on the show and telling your story, wanted other people, especially in this trying time where everyone's, everything's so divided and everyone thinks that no one else experiences what they do. And here you are, a guy who's done a ton of stuff, and yeah, there are challenges, but you work through it, and you continue going forward, and you push yourself when needed, and you use friends for help, and have faith, because somebody or something is going to come into your life when it's needed the most to help you.
Absolutely.
To help you go
Absolutely.
on.
And I'd speak from experience on that. There's, if you're going through a situation in life and you're experiencing something that is beyond belief to you, there's somebody out there that has experienced it. There's somebody that has been through it, and there's somebody out there that's recovered from it. And if you're not finding those people, it's because you're not looking hard enough. And there's always somebody out there that has experienced what you're going through, and there's always, when you're going through a health crisis, there's always the self-pity that takes place in that, and there's just no room. That's one of the emotions that I can say from experience is that's the one that you got to kill first, is that self-pity emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And get out there and talk to people. The more you talk to people, the more you interact with people, because there's a tremendous amount of people out there that you would never know have experienced that, just like this conversation we're having. I don't tell people anymore that I'm a cancer survivor and that type of stuff. It's a phase of my life I went through, and it's a phase of my life I'd like to forget, but you never forget it. But people, search me on the internet or do whatever they do and come back and say, I didn't know that you had cancer. Yep, I did. Well, I've had it too. Mm-hmm. But people don't talk about it. You gotta, when you're talking about it, you'll find it. And if you're craving the healing, it's out there. You just got to go find it, because there's plenty, and people are more than willing to share their stories and give you strength and help you get through it, because nobody likes watching anybody suffer. Mm-mm. And that's the greatness in people, is that there's a group for everybody that can be a support group and help you. You might not find everything in one person. It might take 10 people to get the full picture to help you, but you got to keep digging and keep finding and keep talking, and eventually you'll find everybody that you need that can put things in perspective for you.
Isn't it crazy in this age we live in, there's more ways to communicate with people, texting and social media and email. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, phone calls, but it all comes down to personal connections, and you don't get a personal connection when you're texting somebody. In fact, you probably get the opposite if the message is read wrong.
Absolutely. There's still nothing like face-to-face interaction, and that I think we communicate less. We might write a bunch of words and that type of stuff, but the emotions aren't behind a text, or even sometimes that you can still get some emotions going through a phone call, but the emotions aren't just as if we were filming this live face to face. I'm sure that you've been around me long enough that I'm sure that as we were discussing the cancer and that kind of stuff, that I would have probably got both of us tear jerking.
Right. Exactly. It's probably good that we're.
That's probably good. That's probably a good thing.
I'm sure there'd be some liquid enhancement if we were sitting here together right now, even though it's still early in the day. There's no doubt we got enough of those.
We could have called a day off.
What? If you could go back 20 or 30 years, what advice would you give to your younger self? And would the young Todd have listened?
I think the younger version of me, I think that early in my career that I had a gift of a physical talent, and didn't understand the mental side of the game, talking about referring to this in the golf sense. I was gifted an incredible ability to hit the ball a long way and maneuver balls around like a lot of tour pros couldn't do, and create shots and do different things. And that was the physical side of it. And growing up through junior golf and through that stuff, the mental side wasn't all that important, because I could beat you just on the physical side alone. But I think now it's much more exposed, and it's much more talked about than it ever was when I was a junior golfer, collegiate golfer. Today's world, a young collegiate golfer has a mental meltdown out there. They go to the therapist and have 4 or 5 hours of therapy. And back in my collegiate days, the coach handed you a bottle of Jack Daniels and said, go sit in the van and drown your sorrows and see if you can forget what happened today. So, a little different attitudes, but I think the mental aspect is that. And I think that if I would have had a much more of a mental aspect of what it took out there. As I was younger, I think I could have been a lot more successful. There was many events where I went out there and shot 65 in the first day and was leading the tournament, and would shoot 77 or 80 the next day. I didn't know how to handle the pressure of leading a PGA Tour event, and it grew. I'm a stubborn person, and so I always thought that if I improved my physical side, it was that would handle the mental side, and as I grew and matured and things, I understood that the physical side wasn't going to get much better than what it was. It was the mental side that I needed to improve, and that took me through. It took me until probably into the 2000s, early 2000s, before I fully started understanding how what the importance of the mental side of golf was.
It's amazing how this game will expose our weaknesses, isn't it? Be it
Absolutely,
as a person, or as what you have not developed. And I think when, because of my experience in golf, somebody who might be a member at a club, or you playing a pro-am or with, or someone and they ask you about tour golf, and obviously Tiger comes up, and I say that the best thing his dad ever did was develop his mental side from the time he was a little kid, and let somebody else handle the physical. Because it's I mean, you do that from the time you're a little kid, that he did with his dad, all the way up. I mean, it's because if you let's take the two players of our heyday, with Tiger obviously, and then let's not even, Mickelson is a little different, but let's take someone like Davis Love, who is arguably the top golfer on the tour when Tiger came along. And you could argue Davis had as much talent as Tiger. He hit it as long, he hit it straight. But the difference, I think, is if you take those two examples, is Tiger's dad worked on his mental game. Davis's dad was a golf instructor, worked on his swing. And that's, don't get me wrong, anybody out there listening, I'm not saying Davis Love is not mentally strong. I'm just taking two people who are at the highest level, probably of equal talent, and somebody could probably argue that, but you get one kid you take equal talents, and one kid is trained in mental and one is just in physical, you see the difference in the pieces of work.
I agree with that 100%. And that's where, this younger group that is out there now, let me back up a little bit. In 96, when Tiger came on the tour, he was mentally prepared to win right away, and he did. Back in 93, it was unheard of that rookies won. It was rare. The old perception was, well, it's going to take you a couple years to learn how to win out here.
Yeah, and you don't hit your maturity on tour until you're in your mid-30s, which is 12 years after you get out there.
And back in that era, it was. When I came out at 23, I believe I was the youngest guy on tour at 23, and now these kids are coming out, 20, 21, 19, 20, 21. I remember when it was Sergio, when he came on the scene and was 18, 19 years old, and everybody's like, what the hell? That he was the phenomena that at the time, but these kids that are coming out of college now, I can say some argumentative things that can get some debates going. I don't think that they have all the shots that we had in the old days. If you put a 9-iron out there at 90 yards and tell them to flight it down, they don't know how to do it like we used to. But mentally, they're much stronger mentally when they're coming out of college than what we ever were. And again, back when we were in college, it was all physical. You went to the range and you beat balls for hours and you played and you didn't really get into I can't remember any of my collegiate coaches ever giving us a book or talking about the psychological side of the game or or any of that stuff. It was,
Yeah, you were looked at like something's wrong with you if you were
right.
into
Yeah.
that
If you
stuff.
said, I need to see a psychologist, they canceled your scholarship.
Right.
I see there was something, there was issues with you. So, back then you really didn't, it was all physically pushed, and you just, you worked on your physical side. But these young men that are coming out now, the Justin Thomases
Oh yeah, look at Matt Wolf. I mean, he won last year. I
Matt
think he
Wolf
was he
and
19 or 20?
right. These young kids that come out and they're in better shape than we were in. They're mentally. I don't know what they are in their personal worlds. I don't know any of these young kids, but I don't know where they are personally in their life. But that 4 hours that they're on the golf course, they're much more mentally sound on the golf course than what we were at that time. And the tour is different now. When I came on tour, you played golf and everybody went to the bar together, and you talked about going to a gym, and you were a freak.
What do you want to do that for? You'll screw up your swing.
Right, absolutely.
And now Bryson's putting on 40 pounds and hitting it 30 longer past everybody.
Right. And now you say, let's go to the bar, and they look at you like you're a freak. So it's completely made it's went a full circle here where, now it's the activity and the fun time is going to the gym and going to your psychologist and going to your nutritionist and that type stuff. And back then, when I came out, all of that stuff was unheard of. I think Bob Rotella was probably the only golf sports psychologist out there, and now there's many of them out there, but and they're even starting them in. I've heard of a couple of these collegiate programs. They've got psychologists on the team. They're part of the coaching staff. So times have turned, and the kids are a lot stronger. We came out. If you had, I grew up on a farm, and so I had farm strength. But I mean, these kids are coming out now. They're built, they're strong, they're flexible, and they've spent half their lives in a gym. So completely different arenas.
I watched Justin Thomas doing an exercise where he takes a stretching band and he's got his arms extended, so he's engaged in his upper back and his rhomboids and all that. He's balancing on one leg. He bends over to where his upper body is parallel to the ground, and he does a full twist, right and left, like an airplane, to where his arms go vertical, comes back to parallel and the vertical, and never even wavers on the one leg he's standing on. It's just
yeah, that would have put me in traction.
Me too. I tried it, and my back just said, no, you're not doing this.
And again on that, the perception back when in the early 90s was, all you're going to do is injure yourself. And, working out, you could work your forearms and your hand strength and your legs, but you never wanted to build your chest. So, if you did work out at all, you never did chest exercises. And now you see these guys out there, hell, they're just ripped, massive chests and these huge biceps and triceps and trapezius muscles and everything else. They're just, they're a walking bill of health. And so different times and different things. But I think in the same sense, though, that golf is from the tour level, the golf's in good hands with these young men that are out there. They've got personalities, and I think we went through the phase where the tour kind of lost its personality. With things, and but these young guys, the Rickies and Justins and stuff, they've got personality, and social media is playing a part in creating those personalities. But I think the tour's in great hands now with Matthew Wolff coming up, and I think we're also seeing, if you get into the golf swing, I think we've gone through the phase of the lead betters and that type stuff, where everybody you tried to make everybody swing the same, and now you're seeing a lot more personalized golf swings that people are coming out with swings that are not textbook looking, but they're efficient golf swings, and they repeat and they work, and the teachers aren't taking that away from the kids anymore. They're letting them swing more to their own personality, and I think that's great. That I'm so thankful that we're out of that. Everybody has to swing club the same mentality.
Yeah, I think Furyk, it was in the era where everybody was trying to be cookie cutter, and he was so different that everyone said just leave it alone. And then if you remember
Right.
Sergio, the big talk on Sergio was he's got to change his swing because he's not going to last with that harsh lag. And his dad and his uncle said, no, we'll work with him. It's got him here. And it was really before those were kind of the trace beginnings of the individualized swings. And then, of course, now that we use Matt Wolf as the well, I think Ricky really took that off, right? Ricky's swing
Right.
was not the cookie cutter, and he was doing really good. And then now it's progressed to Matt Wolf and the whole George Genkus thing, and I think he's got great instruction. I think all of his guys are phenomenal golfers, and I think it's led to that. And the crazy thing about George is, if you look at a lot of the kids he teaches, they're all great kids too. So he's doing a wonderful job, not only with their games but their attitude and them being contributing members of society and good human beings. They're just great kids.
Absolutely.
I think he's doing a
Absolutely.
great job. Um,
I
of all your achievements, and you've got a lot of them, what are you most proud of?
I would say the that's a good one. I'd say that probably from a golf career, I would say the 2021 season, or let me see, 2001 to 2002 season with the Q School was probably a big milestone in my career, and secondly is my two young children that I have now is they're my world, and so thankful that they've come into my life. I'd say that being being in a completely different position in life. My oldest son TJ. I was on the road, and life was all about me and my tour career and everything else. And so it's incredible now that I get to be a dad and be at home every day with my kids and raise them and see all the fun things that I missed with my oldest son.
Those are pretty good ones. No one can argue with that. You got a business to run. Let me get a few rapid fires in here and then get you out of here.
All right.
Since you know courses very well, you played them all over the world. What would be the best course that no one's ever heard of?
Butterfield Trail Golf Club.
Where's that at?
El Paso, Texas.
Little promo there.
See, you didn't know where it
I
was.
didn't even know where it was. No. So let's say that you, for the hell of it, you went and Monday qualified for an event and you won and you got on a hot streak and you made the Ryder Cup. It's the first day and you're walking up to the first tee. What would be your walk-up song?
Probably. Let me see. It'd probably be Metallica, Enter Sandman.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's a cool one. It's one of my faves. Let's see what we got here. Your go-to curse word when you miss a shot.
Oh Christ!
Next, you've been all over the world. The strangest thing you've ever eaten.
Monkey brains.
Ooh. I do remember you told me about that one time. Like on Faces of Death, that old movie, remember
Yep.
that?
Yep, I do. That about made me throw up.
All right, I got it. So in case people are wondering, what did it taste like? And don't say chicken.
It really was it was more of a lobster texture.
Mm-hmm.
type scenario, crawfish, lobster in that family, crab leg. And it really didn't have any taste, so to say, because you were eating it with different sauces.
Mm-hmm.
So it just tasted you really didn't get a taste of the meat. It was more of the sauce that you were eating, which I was drowning it in and drinking as I was chewing.
Probably required. They give you those for a reason. What's your superpower?
Say that again.
Your superpower. What would you say your superpower is? Or what would your friends say your superpower is?
Endurance.
I would agree. Given the successes and then the challenges if you've had, and that one follows the other and brought you to where you are, it hopefully people will obviously see that after listening to this. Best line from Caddyshack.
You can play 18 holes on it and smoke it in the evening.
And it's in most states it's legal.
Yeah, nowadays it sure is.
Maybe you now you're in the course owning business. You ought to look into that, getting hybrids where you can have a byproduct with the clippings of your fairway and sell them.
Hell, I would lose half my groups. They'd be out there driving around the golf course going, "Hey, the next hole's over here." Okay.
You could have a pot bar and call it Smoking Divots.
That's right. Yeah, it would be 8-hour rounds of
golf. Go to when you're with your buddies playing. What's your go-to drink?
Dos Equis.
Still, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
If you had to play one course for every day of the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'd say Muirfield Village.
Oh, that's a good one. That's tough to beat, that one. And then the last one, this one I give to everybody. Greatest of all time, Tiger or Jack? So, and you're one to speak because you crossed both generations. So you would have been front row and center.
I would say Tiger.
I think it's a choice that you can't lose if you say either one.
That's it, and the reason I say it is just that Tiger Jack and Arnie together had an incredible impact on golf. But what Tiger did for the game of golf, and you've heard me say it before, if there's any touring pro out there that doesn't like Tiger, they need their head examined, because golf is what it is now because of Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
And what these guys are playing for now is all because of Tiger.
Yeah, and as you alluded to earlier, the mental game that these kids come out with. I mean, Tiger, that was his head and shoulders. I mean, outside of his length, and he was head and shoulders beyond anybody else as far as what was between his ears.
Yeah, I think he's had the greatest impact on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to play with him several times, and there's nowhere to fight that he's not the greatest player. I think that if life would have stayed on track with him, that he'd probably have shattered all the records by now.
I almost think he got the challenge wasn't there as far as golf. I'm not saying that winning the major record wasn't a challenge. I'm saying he was so dominant compared to his peers that it was like, okay, I got to go win another golf tournament.
Right.
And he just needed something motivational, and unfortunately, he veered off on. He found one hell of a motivation. Talk about overcoming a challenge, and I give him all the credit in the world for him to come back from that.
Who would ever have known that Denny's was the place of all challenges?
No kidding. But glad to have him back. I think the game and society, and as we alluded to earlier, nobody likes to see somebody suffer. In spite of what mistake they made. I can tell you
from the golf business, when he won the Tour Championship, our rounds probably went up 30% for the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody looking, they want to come play your courses, they want you to come speak at an event, they want to have some events at your places, what's the best way that they can reach out to you?
They can. The best way to reach out to me is my email. It's todd@sgmsouthwest.com.
SGM as in Michael, right?
Yep.
And
Spirit Golf Management Southwest.com.
I'll have that. That'll be in the summary, so anyone can click on there and get a hold of Todd. Hey, brother, I loved it. You helped me when I was looking to get to that next level, the same way you said those other guys did for you, and I'm eternally grateful and just love you like family.
You as well, and please give hugs and kisses to Cheto and Mom and Dad, and send my love back to them.
You got it. Take care, and I'll be in touch soon.
All right, thanks, Pete.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed it, you can find more information on today's episode and other topics at golf360.blog. There you'll find the show notes and links related to this episode, as well as any other episode that we've done so far to date. If you're interested in improving your game and would like to learn more from yours truly by taking a private lesson, a half-day or multi-day school, club or putter fitting, you can reach me through the blog site or by email, pete@golf360.blog. So some of you may be asking, what is the golf paradigm? All you have to do is click on the homepage while on my blog site to discover how you can start playing better than you ever thought possible. Or you can simply sign up, again, on the blog page for my instructional videos where I give regular tips on all areas of the game to include the swing, club design and fitting, health, fitness and nutrition, the mental aspects, and equally as important, the integration of all those things together. I'm also on social media, and you can find me at The Golf Paradigm. That's PARADIGM, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, also under the same name, The Golf Paradigm. Facebook is usually the best way to reach me for questions and or comments, and I look forward to hearing what all of you have to say. This podcast is brought to you in part by Old South Golf Links. A short ride across a bridge from Hilton Head Island is one of the area's finest golf courses and a hidden treasure. Set up on towering pines and ancient oaks with sweeping marsh vistas, truly makes Old South Golf Links a one-of-a-kind golfing experience. The Clyde Johnson design was named one of the top 10 new public courses when it opened, and it also takes full advantage of the natural beauty of the Low Country. Old South is a fun and unique challenge for golfers of every skill level and a favorite of both locals and visitors. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular, you'll be treated and feel like family. From the bag drop to check-in at the fully stocked pro shop with both men's and women's apparel, to breakfast or lunch before or after your round, the staff is always ready and willing to help. Experience for yourself why Old South is one of the premier golf courses in the Hilton Head area and why it will quickly become a favorite of yours too. Visit them in person or online at www.oldsouthgolf.com, or to make it tee time, simply call the pro shop at 843-785-5353.